Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch everyone and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. The Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Commitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
Ho, ho, ho. And I'm Santa Claus.
Oh no, hi Santa Claus. What did you do with Sam?
I tied him up and put him in his dryer.
It gets really hot in there, Santa. I'm not sure.
I didn't turn it on.
Oh!
Not a monster.
Oh, of course not. Sorry.
Dear God, man.
You probably had to fold him in half to fit him in there, though.
I folded him in thirds.
Oh, okay. That's a nice, decent thing to do.
With the magic of Christmas. Goodbye.
Bye, Santa.
Oh, man. I was just tied up in my dryer by Santa.
Yeah, folded into thirds, I heard.
Did he start recording the show without me?
He did.
Weird.
And for some reason, I was okay with it.
He left. There's a single candy cane on my desk now.
Ooh,
and it says, has a note tied around. It says, "Watch your back."
Yeah, I was gonna say I would not trust that candy cane. The man who just tied you up.
Don't really know what I did to him, but
I'm not even sure why he really did it. Because what did he gain from just getting on this podcast for 5 seconds?
I'm not sure. He's already really famous.
Yeah, it's not like a marketing campaign. He's got to spread the word about Santa.
No. Well, we'll have to ponder that. Maybe someday we'll have an answer.
Maybe he'll just be lingering in the background of this podcast, ready to strike at any time.
Oh my God, that scares me. But I'm Sam Schultz.
Oh,
hi.
Good. Welcome back, Sam. I think the reason Santa is probably hanging around today is because we are celebrating Christmas in May.
He might be pissed about that. He might also be pissed because his jolly ass didn't show up in one single frame of this damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, we get Fozzie dressed as Santa.
Yeah, that don't count.
But we are celebrating Christmas in May as we wrap up the 1970s by discussing John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together, which aired on ABC on December 5th, 1979. This is it, Sam. This is the very last piece of 1970s Muppet media we are going to be watching.
I'm kind of sad that, I'm kind of sad to see the 70s go, I think. We've had our ups and downs, haven't we?
Oh, yeah. And it was a decade of, less commercials, more success, and a lot more Muppets.
Yeah. But also a lot of, really flailing, trying real hard in the beginning.
Do you mean with, the pilots of, Muppet Show Sex and Violence and the Valentine Show? Yeah.
Yeah. A little too much Julie Andrews sprinkled throughout as well.
There was quite a bit of Julie Andrews. But yeah, I think overall the 70s, obviously, the meteoric rise to fame that the Muppets have largely takes place in the 70s, where they are now absolute superstars thanks to both Sesame Street and the Muppet Show and the Muppet movie. Everyone knows the Muppets at this point. And my biggest thing that I was thinking, and I don't know if this is true, that this will happen, but we haven't seen the Muppets really embarrass themselves yet or do anything, I think, where we're really shaking our head my children, what are you doing? And
we haven't seen the first thing where it's that little gap in the armor where the weak spot is, huh?
And I think we've seen them on, bad things. They have made not enjoyable pieces of media.
Absolutely.
But
they've been the good thing in those bad things.
Usually, yeah. And what I'm afraid of is as we get into the 80s and the 90s, the Muppets are going to try to be cool. Because I feel like the 80s and 90s are going to be an era of cool. And the Muppets are usually...
The Muppets were really cool in the 70s.
Yeah. And I think the moment they try to keep up with the 80s and 90s, we might get some more of those embarrassing moments.
Yeah. I think Rizzo was an early success at it, trying to be cool in the 80s.
And maybe they'll roll out some more Muppets like Rizzo that were like, oh, okay, I see how they're sort of keeping up with the era.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we mentioned this a few times, but I'm very excited to see what the Muppets do in the 80s. Our podcast in the 80s will be filled with a lot of Fraggle Rock and Muppet Babies and like a lot of that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what our prime Muppets are doing around those things.
Here's my theory, actually. I think the Muppets will be almost a nostalgia act through the 80s. They'll be beloved because all the things you just mentioned were like big, like Muppet Babies especially was like, oh, that was a pretty big deal. I think the 90s is where we will see them try to be cool, and that will be the more embarrassing thing.
Well, and the one thing I've noticed in researching a lot of the Muppets of the Week for this podcast is that after, say, like 86, 87, after they do that, like Muppets 30 years celebration, and the big movies have come out of like Take Manhattan and Caper have come out, after that era, a lot of Muppets go away for a long time. Like a lot of our side character Muppets will like not be seen until like the 2011 Muppets movie.
Yeah.
So we get a good like 20 years where a lot of Muppets just go away. And so I'm very curious once we get to that point, if we start noticing a big shift in the way the Muppets are treated and the way that they're treating themselves in projects.
Yeah. Something we can get into a little bit more when we're starting to talk about this. But this Christmas special really like reminded me how in the early days of the Muppets, it was kind of like if the Muppets were on, anything could happen. And at this point, it's like if the Muppets are on, you're getting the Muppet Show crew. You're not getting like something truly bizarre or like something from left field. But maybe in the 86s and after, we'll get the same thing where it's like if the Muppets are coming, you don't know what's going to happen. It'll kind of be like a return to their original form.
And I think some of what we've seen so far from that post-Jim era backs that up because they kind of go a little nuts after Jim leaves at first. And they're just like tossing a lot of things at the wall to see what sticks and creating a lot of new Muppets specifically. And so I think Muppets Tonight is a fun experiment in that where they really were trying their own thing with a lot of new characters. And, for some people it worked. Other people it didn't.
Yeah.
But Tough Pigs actually put out an interesting article this week about, like, basically maybe the Muppets should take a little bit of a break or at least return to a bit more of that anything can happen when the Muppets are here. Because I think the article makes a similar point to what you just said about how when you ask the Muppets to show up, you're going to get the Muppet Show Muppets. You know what you're getting. Whereas in the olden days, you'd get the Perry Como Winners Show or whatever, and you'd have the country trio there. And they're still billed as Jim Henson's Muppets, even though it's just three dudes puppets like playing in a band. Or you have like King Goshposh running a hotel. But it's still...
Was Kermit in that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, but I don't think he was.
I think we got like Goshposh, Featherstone, the country trio, and a weird wreath Muppet. But I think that was it.
I think you're right.
But it's one of those things where that article on Tough Pigs this week raises that similar point where it's like maybe we should try to see what we can do with the Muppets of turning them into a little bit more than just the Muppet Show Muppets because everything that they've tried to do for the last 10, 15 years has been essentially a reboot of the Muppet Show in certain ways.
Yeah.
And that article brings up the fact that, the SNL Muppets were Muppets. And those are like the least Muppet Show Muppets ever.
Right.
So I don't know that I necessarily want, things like Muppets Mayhem to not happen. I want to see that show. But at the same time, I totally understand that the idea of what a Muppet is has changed a lot and is treated very differently today than what it used to be.
I think as long as Disney owns the Muppets, that ain't gonna happen though. They're gonna be cashing in on Kermit and the gang until they're like, oh, we're bored of this, and sell them or whatever they decide to do, or throw them in the Disney vault, which is probably more likely.
They are a bit more of an IP at this point rather than a place that's working to develop a lot of new characters. And I'm sure certain things are owned by the Jim Henson Company still.
Right.
And so it's tricky to know like what characters from the past belong to who, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff under Disney's umbrella that they could choose to bring back if they wanted to. And if they truly, say tomorrow Disney Plus, they announce we're rebooting the Muppet Show. We're getting a brand new Muppet Show in 2023. Here you go.
Uh-huh. This time they're all nude, though.
Especially Scooter.
Yes.
Lots of nude Scooter running around managing the show. People keep telling him to put his clothes on, and he says, no. This is my
we
new...
remastered the 70s Muppet Show, and we've digitally removed Scooter's clothes.
All arm rods, all clothes, removed.
We've replaced Scooter with one of the Zach and Cody on deck. Who are those guys? We've replaced them with both Zach and Cody.
The Sprouses?
Yeah, we de-aged them. And now it's the third Zach and Cody series. Zach and Cody in the Muppet Show.
Oh, God.
That sounds kind of good, actually.
I would not be surprised if a Muppet shows up on that show at some point. I could see Kermit showing up on that show when they're on deck on the cruise ship. That would make sense to me.
Yeah, they're both 40 now, though. They don't make that show anymore.
I think they're still younger than us.
They're still younger than us? Someday they will be older than us?
No, you were just saying they were 40, and I'm like, I think
the Sprouses,
they've always been
age
younger
twice
than
as
us.
Fast, I suppose.
Don't think they
They
passed
always
us.
have been and always will be until we die. I think, speaking of the 70s also, I do, even still now that we're watching it a little bit more, forget Sesame Street and forget how powerful of a thing that was. And Jim wasn't struggling at any point in the 70s. He kicked it off with Sesame Street. And that was just the biggest thing he ever did, probably.
Yeah.
So.
The entire goal of his 50s and 60s career was to be on TV.
Yeah.
And starting in the late 60s / early 70s, he was on TV every single day in every single household, pretty much. So,
that's
goal
pretty
achieved.
cool.
Yeah, good job, Jim.
He kind of overdid it, honestly.
Yeah, in a matter of
he made
15
it impossible
years.
for people like us to actually chronicle his entire career.
Yeah. What the hell, Jim? So yeah, that's also, interesting that we talk about how far along we are in the era of Jim's life. We have 10 years left of Jim's life in our chronological viewing here. And it feels like, that's not a lot of time in, the span of this man's life. But he did so much in that first 25 years of his career up to this point in 1980 that, and I know he does a lot more in that last decade. So I'm very excited to get through the 80s, not get through them, I guess, but to watch the 80s because there's so much stuff I haven't seen. The more I look into the Jim Henson Hour, the more excited I am to check that out.
Oh my gosh. I've been reading the Muppet Wiki about it and just being what could this possibly be? What does this show look like? And I don't want to look and spoil it for myself.
Same, because sometimes you look and it's oh, this looks exactly like the Muppet Show. They're just doing the Muppet Show again. And then other times it's Jim Henson showing you a cool camera trick. And you're
yeah.
All right.
Or what is this scary hedgehog, man? What's going on here?
Well, that's from The Storyteller, which I'm also very excited to watch.
Oh, yeah, I forgot those are two different things. Because I think eventually they kind of merge into one thing.
They use, so the Jim Henson Hour, they would, I think, use the second half hour sometimes of that hour to show off other projects like The Storyteller or Dog City or other things like that. And so
Dog City.
There might be
That's
some
the
things that
one.
we end up watching twice accidentally without realizing it. But we'll know that Hedgehog Man really, really well.
Do you know there's 4 seasons of Dog City? Isn't that crazy?
I think they're all also right now on the Roku TV app for free. So if anyone out there wants to get a jump on Dog City, go ahead.
Yeah, you better hurry because who knows? Roku TV seems like a kind of a fly-by-night operation, doesn't it? But you know what? Also, 2022 could be that could be the year of the comeback of the Muppets because of Holy Moly.
Yeah, we got this weird thing happening right now where the show Holy Moly, which I have never watched, but seems like mini golf meets Wipeout, is apparently all of their new season is going to be run by the Muppets.
Co-hosted and run by the Muppets.
Yeah, and it's not just a one-off episode appearance. Apparently, they're going to be there for the whole season.
I'm very excited about this, and I was telling Matt that if the Muppets' fate is to be the gimmick imposed on failing Disney-branded shows, this is our last season, or these are our last 5 episodes or whatever, what do? The automatic answer is put the Muppets on. Put the Muppets on this sitcom. Put the Muppets on this news broadcast, They're just throwing the Muppets in there. They're trying to save everything.
Now I'm just thinking of everything that's currently like owned or run by ABC, and like how do we get a Muppet in there? They got that new Wonder Years reboot, takes place in the 60s. We could definitely have some Muppets happening
Get
in the
the
60s.
LaTroy Jagan popping through the wall. Like, hey, Kevin's mom, made with dragon fire. And then it burns the house down, and that has repercussions throughout the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Is his name Kevin? I don't know.
His name's Kevin in the old one. I don't think it's Kevin in the new one.
Kevin McAllister.
Nope, I don't think that's it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think this experiment is working because I have never had an interest in watching Holy Moly until right now.
I'm going to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, it starts in just a couple days as we are recording this. So by the time this is out, at least I think 1 or 2 episodes will be out. So hopefully we're all checking out Holy Moly, and hopefully it's good.
It's good. Yeah. That's the bigger hopefully.
All right, Sam, let's get in the Christmas spirit by telling the people what we watched today.
This week we watched Muppets and John Denver, A Christmas Together, brought to you by the good people at DuPont. DuPont and you, there's good chemistry between us. On December 5th, 1979, singer John Denver and that lovable band of misfits, the Muppets, appeared on television screens across the country in a television special version of their very popular album of the same name, which had come out the October prior. Or this October, I don't know how you say that. It come out in October of the year that this came out.
A couple months before this.
And it was like a huge hit. I think it went platinum. I'm not sure if it had gone platinum yet, but it was on its way. They kick off the TV special the same way the album does, with the 12 Days of Christmas, before moving on to the writer's room where, in typical Muppet fashion, they have apparently not even really started writing the very Christmas special that they are currently appearing in. They keep flinging suggestions at John Denver, who is very graciously trying to do the impossible and make all of these little freaks happy. Eventually, John has enough, throws open the door behind him, revealing a very Perry Como winter special type of infinite void. Slowly, a quaint little village and quaint little inhabitants of that village apparate in the void, and John and the Muppets do a peppy little number throughout the streets of the town. John finds his way back to harsh reality after that, to discover that Miss Piggy is, of course, not happy with the part that she has been given in the special and demands that he rewrites it. John agrees and goes off to think about what Piggy's new show-stopping segment should be. He sort of drifts around different planes of reality at this point, singing some carols with some real deer and some Muppet beavers, reminiscing on the meaning of Christmas with a homesick Kermit, and singing Merry Little Christmas with Rolf on a stage of some sort, before Piggy confronts him, demanding to know what his idea is. And he does tell her that he in fact has an idea, and here is the idea. So the big centerpiece, kind of the show is a sort of mini retelling of The Tin Soldier with John Denver as a sort of fuck-up of a toy soldier who is in love with Piggy, who's here playing a doll named Fifi, which really confused me because I thought her dog was named Fifi. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, John? It's Fufu.
How could you mix those two up?
Well, Fufu has a sister named Fifi, so
Well,
as we learned. So John goes off to war or something, and Fifi sings a sad song about missing him, but he comes back and they're together once again. It's kind of weird. Then the Muppets and John gather for carols in a big living room set, and then John does his best Linus from a Charlie Brown Christmas impression and tells the Muppets the story of the Nativity with a little help from Muppet Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. They then lead an audience of children that has apparently been there the whole time in a round of Silent Night, and that's the end. Highlights include seeing the Muppets 12 Days of Christmas in live action with like a huge cast of people who are all played by the same guy, so it's kind of fun to be like, how are they doing that? Also, John and Rolf singing together is lovely, and the part where John and Kermit chat about missing home is also lovely. We learn a little bit about Kermit's past. The opening big number where they dance through the town is fun, and fun enough that I found myself wishing that more of the special took place kind of in that world. And there are a lot of full-body Muppet shots throughout this that are pretty interesting, especially like an almost full body of Rolf at his piano, which is kind of cool. And it's also funny to me that the chef seems to really hate John Denver for basically no reason. He's just really rude to him a number of times.
maybe he's mad he doesn't have a bigger part in this special.
He like burns his finger with a meatball, tells him he hates the special. He's just kind of acting out in this one. Elsewhere in December 1979, Star Trek The Motion Picture, which was produced based on the success of Star Wars and Close Encounters, was released, revitalizing a franchise that had basically been dead for like a decade. Hayao Miyazaki's first feature film, The Castle of Cagliostro, was also released, as was Steve Martin's The Jerk. And if you went to theaters around now, you could also see the eventual Best Picture winner, Kramer versus Kramer. In the world of music, Sid Vicious's posthumous album Sid Sings is released, as is The Clash's London Calling and Motorhead's debut album. And in larger world events, the Iranian Revolution concludes with Ayatollah Khomeini as the supreme leader of Iran, and the Soviet-Afghan War, a Cold War proxy war that will put the U.S. on the path to 9/11, is just about to begin.
All brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Be an original. Be a pepper.
It tastes fattening, but it's not. What a weird slogan.
Yeah.
You can't say the word fattening.
Yeah, it's very weird, this special John Denver and the Muppets Christmas Together. Not only brought to you by DuPont, but also by Dr. Pepper and sugar-free Dr. Pepper, which, as I just said, the tagline is, it tastes fattening, but it's not. So they're just saying that regular Dr. Pepper is fattening.
Yeah, it tastes fattening, and it is.
Yeah. Taste the fat, Dr. Pepper.
It's just such a weird, it's not even fat. It's sugar. It's like, what?
Yeah, I don't want my soda to taste fattening.
Fattening.
I just be like,
because it will be,
yes.
yeah, like a separate layer of oil sitting on top of it when you open
Yeah, you
the
gotta
can.
stir up your Dr. Pepper before you drink it.
It's gonna make me puke. Yeah, that's horrible. Just some real chunky Dr. P.
Ugh. Worth noting that Sid Sings album you mentioned also has a cover of My Way, like Gonzo's.
Like Gonzo, yeah. It sure does. Gonzo got an advanced copy of it.
I got to get mine out before Sid does.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
But before we talk about John Denver and the Muppets, there's some other things, actually, a lot of things happening at the end of 1979 here that I wanted to cover real quick. On the same day this special would be airing, December 5th, 1979, the Art of the Muppets exhibit was opening in the San Diego Museum of Art. This exhibit had been going for a few months already, or at least a month or so, I think, already, at a different museum, but had just opened at the San Diego Museum, which was sort of beginning its tour. It would go on to tour the country at different museums, and this was essentially the precursor to that current Jim Henson Imagination Unlimited exhibit that's currently still touring the country.
Been around for a while, huh?
Yeah, this is the first time where people could really see a lot of the Muppets in person in their local museum. Then, Jim gets real busy and is traveling so much, according to his journal, that I don't even know that some of it makes sense of the location that he mentions he is in. So try to follow this.
Okay.
December 7th, 1979, he is in New York. He meets with Ken Phillips, and he said he's going to start him designing stained glass for the building. So what this is talking about is that Jim purchased a real old 1929 double townhouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side and was renovating it and decorating it to make it a Henson Associates office. This is famous, though, for its stained glass. There's a couple of stained glass windows in this townhouse. There's one where you look up at the skylight and you see a view of trees from below, and it's supposed to be a view of what Kermit might see looking straight up from his lily pad.
Okay.
And then there's another one that's Kermit playing his banjo. And so, yeah, he was starting to renovate and set up this townhouse, which was going to be used. I think he may have lived there. I don't actually know, but I know it was partially used as an office as well. They talk about how their system of getting people's attention would be basically sticking your head out into the big staircase and just shouting for the person who's 2 floors above you or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Then, on December 8th and 9th, Jim wrote that he had weekend product meetings in New York. And this is because Jim took a huge interest in how the characters appeared, whether they were toys, dolls, posters, lunchboxes, whatever. And so he would regularly still meet with the licensing group to review products and share ideas. Then, December 9th, 1979, they had the Henson Company Christmas party at the St. Regis Hotel with about 160 people. And unfortunately, something we can't see, Jim wrote in his journal that Frank and I do Piggy and Kermit. So there was probably a very bawdy Piggy and Kermit performance at the company Christmas party that year. Then, on December 9th, same day, he wrote in his journal, London with Bernie and Dave. So I don't know if he flew out.
How the hell do you do that?
Maybe he took a red eye or something after a Christmas party. Seems like
That
a poor
doesn't sound
choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the same day of the Christmas party, he wrote London with Bernie and Dave. There's not more information about that trip. But then, December 15th, he's back in New York, baby.
Oh, boy.
Because Karen Prell comes to visit him from Washington State. Karen is best known for portraying Red Fraggle on Fraggle Rock, and she was 20 years old at this time, and she said, quote, "As a teenage Muppet fan, I bombarded Henson Associates with fan letters and inquiries about puppet building or performing work." So apparently in December 1979, she got a call from Henson Associates, and the caller said, "Hey, Jim saw your puppeteering tape that you sent in, and you should come to New York and audition right away." So she flew from Seattle and got to New York. Most of the employees are gone for the Christmas holiday. So apparently Jim answered the door himself and greeted her with a hug. And she said, quote, "It was like arriving at Mount Olympus and being greeted and hugged by a god." So apparently he just had a one-on-one audition for her. She grabbed an Anything Muppet, did some talking and acting exercises. And then right then and there, he asked her to perform Dina, who was a new monster that was going to show up on Sesame Street.
Oh, I never heard of Dina before.
Dina didn't stick around for longer than a season, I don't think. But it was Karen Prell's first job with the Muppets, and obviously she is still performing Red to this day. Then, to further confuse the timeline here, December 16th, the next day, he has a breakfast meeting with Hugh Wheeler about the ill-fated Bodo.
Ah, the goat thing, huh?
Yes, the goat herder Broadway play that he ended up not doing. Then he writes Fly to Boston and Fly to London.
He does both?
Maybe he had to fly to Boston first, but I feel like there'd be flights from New York.
Doesn't seem worth mentioning.
Nope, but he doesn't mention anything beyond that, so
okay.
Who knows? Then, on that trip to London, on December 17th through the 19th, Jim wrote that they did some testing for the Dark Crystal. So by the end of 1979, many of the characters had been built in some form for the Dark Crystal, and Jim used this hiatus from the Muppet Show to go to London and do more tests.
Ew, this thing's from Dark Crystal?
So I sent Sam a little video clip that's on the Henson Company YouTube channel, and it's just called Dark Crystal Test. And it's some little creatures that I don't believe end up actually being in the Dark Crystal themselves, but these were some of the puppets that were made for the Dark Crystal.
They look like they got damn potatoes for heads.
They do look like damp potatoes.
They got a big bong, too.
And it doesn't surprise me with where the Dark Crystal ends up. But yeah, it's interesting to see that, 2.5 years before that movie comes out, they're still performing some more tests. And we got more stuff happening in late 1979 here. December 21st, Bernie calls. This is Bernie Brillstein, Jim's agent, and says they sold Emmett Otter to ABC for next year. And this is because, as much as, it feels like forever ago that we talked about Emmett Otter, Emmett Otter's Jug Bang Christmas first airs on network television on December 15th, 1980, so a year after this.
Oh, we skipped way ahead for Emmett?
No, we talked about it when it aired, I believe, in Canada and on HBO.
Oh, wild.
Yeah, at least I think the Canada airing was first because they filmed it up there, but they hadn't sold it to other networks yet. So people on, regular U.S. network TV would not end up seeing it until 1980. Then, Christmas Eve, 1979, Jim celebrates Christmas Eve with Jim Coburn, which is James Coburn, who plays the owner of the El Sleazo Cafe in the Muppet movie.
Why does he do that?
Because they just became old friends after casting him in the Muppet movie. Because also, a few months after this, James Coburn will be filming his own season 5 episode of The Muppet Show. So they became, close enough friends to spend Christmas together. Also on Christmas...
That was Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a couple lonely fellas, huh?
Well, I think he was also there with James Coburn's wife.
Okay.
So maybe this was in London. I didn't actually look
Just
up where they were.
Jim.
Yeah.
He was like, come on, honey. This guy, he's pathetic.
We got a damp bearded man knocking on our door on Christmas Eve. We have to let him in. But also on Christmas Eve, 1979, another episode of the Hollywood Squares with Big Bird and or Oscar appeared.
Okay.
The notes.
You don't know which one?
The notes on the Hollywood Squares appearances are a bit dodgy on Muppet Wiki, where it says basically this date, but typically people would film a whole week of shows. And so Big Bird and Oscar probably switched on and off throughout the week of Christmas Eve, 1979.
Right. Switching back and forth.
Right. And the last thing to note, something else we couldn't find to watch, is that on December 25th, Christmas Day, 1979, another episode of the blooper special, It'll Be All Right on the Night, the UK-based blooper special, featured a short blooper from the Raquel Welch episode in which Fozzie accidentally calls Scooter Kermit. Whoa!
Oh, what a wild mix-up.
Yeah. So I was going to say, unfortunately, I couldn't find a clip of that, but I think you can just imagine it and it's fine.
Yeah, some British people died because it was so funny. They couldn't handle it. The farcical nature of the bloop.
Huge wave of Christmas deaths that year.
Yeah.
But getting back to John Denver, it's worth noting that apparently they had already sort of agreed to make this special and the album when John recorded his episode of The Muppet Show. And this is not going to be the last time we will see John Denver in our watchings for this podcast, because they've got another special coming out in just a few years in 1983.
He takes them all on vacation, baby.
Yeah, the Rocky Mountain Holiday. They will do a number of PSAs, like environmentalism PSAs in the 80s as well with John Denver. And then in 1984, apparently Jim and John Denver were both in Russia for different projects, and they met up in Moscow, and John and Kermit performed for children at the U.S. Embassy.
Okay. Weird.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything to see from that, but...
Top secret.
Yeah. But getting back to 1979, Sam, I feel like this is the first special we've seen like this in a while.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was shocked how Perry Como Christmas special it was. That took me by total surprise.
Yeah, and like we've seen some Julie Andrews specials, but I think the most recent one was the One Step Into Spring, where the Muppets barely did anything with Julie Andrews and weren't a huge part of it. But this is, John Denver giving it his all. He loves these Muppets so much.
He does love them. He's got such a goofy smile on his face every time he looks at one of them.
And I feel like he's, just as cool as Perry Como. Like they're just as dorky and square as each other, but
Perry Como is much, much cooler than John Denver.
Wow,
Perry Como's cool as fuck. I think.
I guess he was throwing like a swingers party up in that chalet.
Yeah. Perry Como is awesome. I think Perry Como is too cool for the Muppets, so then it makes him seem dorkier.
He's just the sleepy old man.
Oh, I forgot he was so tired all the time too. John Denver's never tired.
Well, because I feel like John Denver's the kind of guy who's going to bed at 8 p.m. with a big glass of milk.
Yeah.
Whereas like Perry Como's out all night flirting with every woman he sees.
Yeah. John Denver's got his sleeping cap on, though, and yawning like a cartoon mouse.
Yeah, I don't know like the level of cool that maybe John Denver was viewed with in the 70s. Like maybe he was viewed a little less boring than we see him now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people were hungry for boring in the 70s. Maybe everybody was too like disco-y and stuff, and it was just like this one guy. He's our little island of calmness in this rushing torrent of disco and wildness. But he was like a movie. He had been in a movie at this point, I think, right? So like, had he been in My God yet, or whatever it's called?
Oh God, yeah, that was 1977 with George Burns.
Right. It does seem like he's maybe not even sure what he's supposed to be in this. Like, is he beloved enough to have to like anchor this? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he knew if he was either. But he's definitely not like a guy who should be doing like a dance routine on that kind of set. Like, he just looks weird dancing. I wasn't ready for that.
Which thankfully they leaned into a bit in the Tin Soldier,
the Toy Soldier
number
thing,
where he clearly knows that he is not as coordinated as these other professional dancers, and so they lean into that. But yes, at the beginning, it is strange that he seems like he's actually fully trying to be a professional dancer in those scenes.
Yeah, and I don't usually notice, like, oh, this guy's not good at dancing, but like he could not kick his legs up very high.
And I think, I know that my mother-in-law was like a huge John Denver fan when she was younger, so I know he had fans. I don't know, like, what level of, like, I know he was a super famous person. I was aware when he died, and I was like 9 years old, and I knew who he was. But I don't know if he was sort of the boring alternative to what was going on in the world of music at the time. As you said, Motorhead released their first album. So, Sid Vicious is out there. Motorhead's out there.
Well, Sid Vicious isn't out there anymore.
You have punk, you have metal coming
and the
in.
Clash had just come out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Too, so
So I feel like this is sort of that alternative. If you're like, okay, some kids are into punk music and they got safety pins in their noses, but the good kids, they listen to their John Denver and they go to church on Sunday.
yeah, they love the Muppets and John Denver.
Which is actually, there was a review apparently for the Los Angeles Times where a reviewer called this combination of Denver and the Muppets an overdose of cute.
Yeah, I read that. I think I would agree with that overall.
My other favorite review that was on Muppet Wiki is from Bill Hayden of the Gannett News Service. Says that he places John Denver at the top of his list of least favorite performers, and the Muppets rank exceedingly high on a list of his most liked performers.
Oh, poor John.
So this poor reviewer was like, God damn it, I love the Muppets, but I hate that John Denver.
What a bad day for him.
But the special does open up with the 12 Days of Christmas. I guess before we even maybe get into the details of that, how'd you feel about the special overall, Sam?
It's so disjointed that it's kind of hard for, like, there's so many different things happening and so many different sets they go to that it is almost easier to go, like, segment by segment and be like, this was cool, this one sucked. Overall, I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, because I've seen John Denver and the Muppets Rocky Mountain Holiday. That one's way different than this one. That one's like a little story, like they're in a place doing stuff. This one was so much like a 70s thing, like a 70s variety show, that I was just like, I'm kind of over this. Like, this isn't what I expected from my John Denver. I wanted something like, it pales in comparison so much to like every other like Muppet Christmas Carol. So the cover of this album is so cool, and like the inside of it, I was expecting it to look like that, to be like lush and be like illustrated and beautiful and like classic Christmassy, but it wasn't that. So I think I was let down in a way that maybe gives me like an unfair opinion of it.
I think that's fair, though. It does feel like it's going to be a bit more of a Christmas special and not a variety show. And it's a lot more 70s variety show.
Yeah. And the toy soldier thing just did not click with me. I was very bored during that whole thing. And that's a pretty long segment.
Yeah, it's so weird. I think disjointed is a good word for it, because there are some great moments throughout this special where the Muppets are used incredibly well and are very funny for not being written by Jerry Jewell. And I think it's interesting to contrast those with the very sincere, slower moments where it's just John Denver singing by himself to his son. And it's like...
Is that who Zachary is?
Yeah, Zachary is his son.
Did he mention that earlier?
No.
Okay.
I had to look that up randomly in the middle of the song.
Where's this character Zachary?
He just says Merry Christmas Zachary, and you're like, who the hell is Zachary?
I'm not Zachary.
Yeah. Is it a feature where whoever's watching, it just dubs their name in?
Like that E.T. ride at Universal Studios where he would say your name at the end, you know?
I don't know that. Was that a thing?
Oh, yeah. There were certain people would get like a little like bracelet or something, or like they would like feed like a card into a machine. They'd ask everybody their name and certain names he could say. So
John. It was just John.
Yeah. It's just all the Johns. Yeah.
No, it's like, hey, do we have any Elliots in the crowd? Oh, you?
Who voiced
Look out, E.T. might say your name in this ride.
Who voiced E.T.? Do you know?
I think he's a real alien, Sam.
Oh my God. That just occurred to me that it must be
He's
true.
got a real alien.
Anyway. And yeah, at the end of the ride, he'd say, goodbye, John.
I'm just picturing it exactly like the Krusty the Clown, like voiceover dubbed in the Camp Krusty episode, where it would be like,
oh yeah,
goodbye, John.
Okay, so that's who Zachary is. I meant to look it up, but
yeah, it was his adopted son that he had been born like 5 years before this or something.
Okay. E.T. was voiced by a woman.
Yeah, I was just looking that up too.
She was a chain smoker.
She was also
She had a
apparently
raspy voice.
the voice of Bausch in Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. Like the fake voice that Leia has when she's like threatening Jabba and the little
oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. I bet as soon as you hear them side by side, it'll sound right. What? This I'm drawn in now because apparently she'd been hired by George Lucas because Lucas had said he was in a laundromat when he thought her ambiguous voice was perfect.
Cool. Because it says she's a radio soap opera actress. So he either heard her in real life in a laundromat or heard her on the radio.
Okay, that makes more sense that he heard her on the radio. I thought she was just like doing laundry like ouch, I dropped my clothes. And he's like, oh, ouch, I like that, ouch. Do that again. I have a friend named Steven who would love to talk to you too.
Yeah, she went to make a call. She was like, what, time to phone.
Oh, she's a very cute looking old lady. I just Googled her, and her name's Pat Welsh, and she just looks like everyone's grandma.
She looks like
She does look a little bit like E.T.
This is amazing. This is the best thing I ever learned. Well, anyway.
How did we get here?
Because we were talking about how he says
Oh,
Zachary.
yeah. Too many threads to pull on. We're going to unravel if we go too far. So let's get into the 12
You were still
days.
telling us what you thought of the special, actually.
Oh, God. Yes, I agree. Disjointed, good word for it. But some of the highlights are really good highlights. I think the script, like the writer's room scene in particular, is classic Muppets. And even the sincere moments, I think, work pretty well.
Yeah. I like them at the end in that living room singing. That part is, like, not exciting, and it also kind of comes out of nowhere. But, like, the Muppet Jesus is cool. Like, that's a very interesting part, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of interesting puppets used in this. You mentioned that there's a lot of puppets on screen at the same time, so like trying to figure out who is all puppeteering those right now is interesting to think about. But I think there's also, I think there's enough moments that bring it down for me that I'm just like, this isn't like gonna end up on my watch list every Christmas year, but like the album definitely stays in rotation around Christmas time.
That was there's like such a huge quality difference between the album and the special that was just like, the album sets it up for failure, unfortunately, because the album is amazing and beautiful to like the actual physical thing is beautiful.
Yeah, there's and if you never opened up the old 70s album of A Christmas Together, on the inside the track list is represented by Christmas cards that are like hand drawn, probably Michael Frith, they look like his style.
They look like his stuff.
Christmas cards for each and every song on the album, and they're great and they make me want them and to like have them on a shelf somewhere. But yeah, speaking of the album, this special opens up just right away with the 12 Days of Christmas. There is no like, hey, welcome to the special. That's
really one you got to save to the end, I think, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, it opens up with John Denver just standing outside of a house. He gives you a little wave and a nod like, hey, it's time. And they sing the 12 Days of Christmas just like they do on the album. Fozzie keeps messing up. Can't remember his line. Yeah. John tries to help him out a couple times. He like has a little side conversation with him where he's like, hey, come on, dude. You can figure this out.
You're ruining this for all of us.
And he gives him a little high five once he does finally get it right.
That was cute, yeah. It looks like Fozzie's going to leave him hanging for a second, but Fozzie catches on.
I don't think Frank is performing Fozzie in this number.
No, I don't think so either. But I actually don't think he's performing Miss Piggy either. I couldn't tell which one he wasn't performing more.
I assumed he was doing Piggy because Piggy's doing this like little lip quivering thing when she's singing her 5 golden rings, and the ba-dum-bum-bum is very...
You're not going to know the answer to this, but... Oh, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. Is that a new Miss Piggy puppet?
Ooh, I wasn't paying that close of attention to see.
She looks great. That's why I ask. She's got like more like defined lips, I feel like, than I'm used to her having.
Maybe. I feel like they do like little refurbs every now and then to these guys that like slight adjustments here and there, so it's hard to notice when they shift them just a little bit. Yeah. But
it's like, gotta make this pig more kissable. Come on, pout those lips out.
But there's one point in particular in the 12 Days of Christmas where Fozzie completely blows his line. And I thought the special was out of sync for a second when I was watching it. But everything else before and after that moment are perfectly in sync. So whoever is performing Fozzie was just like a couple seconds too late on one of the cues. And so it looks like he's just completely out of sync. So
And Frank would never do that.
No.
Further Fozzie disrespect, though. Come on.
It is worth noting Muppet Wiki lists that they did pull in some other puppeteers to help on this special, including Bob Payne, who we talked about previously, used to work with Jim all the way back on the Sam and Friends days. Brian Meal, who we talked about previously, being Barkley and Early Elmo. And they also pulled in Mike Davis, Philip Huber, and Cheryl Henson.
Oh.
Yeah, so one of the Henson children was involved in this one. And she goes on to help puppeteer in a few things, but not very many things. So I'm not sure why, but yeah, she is.
Just bored of it, maybe.
Maybe. But she does help out on this one. My one thing I wrote down that I really liked about this 12 Days of Christmas is that when Floyd comes in, Zoot also just suddenly shows up with him, even though Zoot doesn't sing or play the saxophone or really do anything at all.
There's a little saxophone-y kind of sounding thing that happens at one point, but I don't know if it's him. But when he pops up, he is not playing the saxophone, certainly.
No, it's like he just wandered in, like, Floyd was walking this direction, and now I'm here.
Two man, yeah. It was very fun. I like this. This song is on my like permanent Christmas list of permanent Christmas playlist. So it was really fun to see it in live action. That was a bit of a thrill, and it sets expectations very high for the rest of the thing.
Yeah, this special peaks real early because after the 12 Days of Christmas, we have the cast meeting around the writer's table where, John is getting to live his best life and hang out with all of his best Muppet friends.
Yeah, but he's very mad at them, too. He keeps slamming on the table.
Well, but he's mad, but he's also determined to make them all happy.
Yeah.
His main goal is to make sure everyone is happy with their part in this special.
What this taught me is that you don't want John Denver producing anything. He cannot handle it.
He will try to make everyone happy and nothing will ever get done.
No.
Piggy shows up late because apparently she's been followed by autograph hounds. She opens the door, comes in, and you hear a bunch of dogs barking, and she complains about autograph hounds, which are apparently real dogs.
I either blinked out of existence or you didn't mention that was Miss Piggy that you're talking about.
I said Miss Piggy shows up late.
You did?
Yeah.
I think you said she shows up late.
We'll review the tape and see who's right.
Whenever anyone says she, they always mean Miss Piggy. She is the universal she.
I mean, in the Muppets world,
yeah,
kinda.
She's the only one. Yeah.
She even makes that distinction later on because there's an argument in this section about peace on earth and goodwill towards men. And everyone is like, hey, let's change that. Miss Piggy first suggests goodwill towards men and women. And then we add, and chickens and bears, and Floyd adds, and Dizzy Gillespie. But later on, during the pleasure of your company number, when they're singing that list again, and everyone gets their little part, they say towards men, and chickens, bears, dogs, and Piggy just says, and moi. So she has given up the fight to...
She's thought about it a bit and been like, actually, just me.
Yeah, I only care about me this time.
I really like that part, too. She's on that, like, beautiful sled.
Yeah, her and John Denver are smooching on a sled as they go around a gazebo. It's very Christmassy.
And Fufu's there. And I was wondering if Frank was double fisting, if he was doing Piggy and Fufu at the same time, but I couldn't quite tell.
I guess that would make the most sense to instead of like trying to shove two people inside of that sled.
Just cram another person there to be the dog that no one's looking at.
Yeah. But as you mentioned, there is a very Perry Como Winter Show moment in this special. So much so that I thought for some reason I had seen this before when I was watching it, but I was like, this feels so familiar because as John walks out the door into the blustery, snowy world, it is just a void that slowly starts to transition into a Christmassy little town.
Just a quaint little town. Exactly the same thing that happens in the Perry Como Christmas special.
Yeah, and I wanted to go back and revisit it, but that's the one that's been deleted off of YouTube.
Oh,
so I can't go back and like exactly watch it side by side. But I'm pretty sure that exact same thing happens. And this turns into the performance of The Pleasure of Your Company, which is an original song for this album and special.
Yeah.
Written by the other Ray Charles, as
okay,
he is
I was going to
known.
say, no, it's not. It was written by Ray Charles, but it's a different guy.
It's a different Ray Charles, who unfortunately also went into music, has worked with the Muppets. He is the music consultant in the 4th season of The Muppet Show.
Oh, that must be so sad for him all the time. When people are...
His
when,
Wikipedia literally says he is known as the other Ray Charles.
People's eyebrows raising and then just be like, not that one.
Yeah, because if you look at the credits on this or on the Muppet Show or something, it says Ray Charles did the music. And you're like, holy shit, they got Ray Charles? That's pretty cool.
Why?
It's like, I'm the other Ray Charles. I also, in looking up Ray Charles, I found out the fun fact that he was apparently, friends with Joe Raposo, who worked on Sesame Street and Muppet Things. And Ray Charles's singing voice can be heard performing the Joe Raposo penned theme song for the sitcom Three's Company.
What?
Yes!
He wrote the theme song to Three's
Joe
Company?
Raposo wrote the theme song to Three's Company, and Ray Charles sang it.
Wild.
But yeah, that's my only real Ray Charles fun fact for the day. You mentioned that you wanted to spend more time in this world, and I completely agree.
Yeah.
All of these humans disappear after this number, and it's very strange because they feel like fake people that were like
summoned by like John Denver's like Anthony from that episode of The Twilight Zone, who can like make things happen with his mind, send people to the cornfield.
This is just his like platonic ideal of Christmas, and these people just pop out of nowhere, and the moment he doesn't need them anymore, they disappear.
Yeah, he like traps the Muppets in his Christmas universe, and he's like, all my friends are here. Look at this. And then he walks into the void, and all the Muppets are kind of like, whoa, because they're a little scared when they open up to the void. They kind of react like they're looking at an infinite void. And then all those people appear, and then he's like, but if you cross me, boom, gone.
And then he keeps you in a small snow globe on his desk while he laughs maniacally.
I don't think he laughs maniacally. I think he just smiles at the snow globe peacefully, serenely.
Creepily.
Yeah, creepily. But yeah, it is very weird. Like, I love this set. Like, the set's fine, whatever. It does look a little dangerous dancing on all that fake snow. But I just like this kind of world, this kind of like Stars Hollow-y kind of like feeling. And I love the Electric Mayhem in their little band outfits. I think they look adorable.
Yeah, they're just in little marching band uniforms, rocking out in the gazebo, Music Man style.
Yeah, and I liked the part of the Perry Como Winter Special where he's walking around being like skeezing all over everybody in this little town. I think that's fun. Like, that's funny. And I would like to see John Denver like sitting in the bookstore with the children singing a song, and like, Scooter runs the bookstore or something. Like, there's a direction they could have gone that used this set more.
Well, I think we even have a moment in the Perry Como one where Art Carney is Santa Claus and he's ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. So Fozzie has sort of stepped into that role this time. You also
they should have got Art in here.
You also have Art Carney in that Perry Como special as a cop. So you have like these same sort of like archetype roles in this little small Christmas town.
Oh, weird.
But you just have Fozzie and Link
weird.
instead of Art Carney playing two roles.
Yeah.
We then step outside of the Christmas magic just a little bit as Piggy is calling her agent Bernie to complain about her small role in this special. Something we've seen her do repeatedly is call Bernie the agent to get her shit figured out.
Honestly, feels like she's kind of going through the motions in this special to me. She's done this a million times before, and like, there's nothing new from Miss Piggy in this special, really.
Yeah, and I think even, her getting to play Fifi at the end isn't really that, I don't know.
I'd rather see her as an elf, like she didn't want to do.
Yeah, the canceled mysterious elf number.
Yeah.
But I think this moment with John Denver is pretty good because she's definitely trying to seduce him to try and get a better part in this special. She really leans into when she says, we didn't really get to know each other when you were on the Muppet Show.
I thought it was fun that they mentioned that he was on the Muppet Show, too.
Mm-hmm. And they also, at one point when she's flirting with him, she's like, hey, I've never seen you without your glasses on, Jonathan.
That was so good.
He takes them off. She stares at him, looks away, and says, put them on. She is disgusted.
He does look really weird.
It's interesting that even though this is obviously recorded a little bit differently than the Muppet Show, they still have the moments with John Denver completely unable to keep it together around Miss Piggy, and just like not doing a second take, not worrying about like, should he be laughing in this moment? Who cares? It's John Denver enjoying Miss Piggy.
I don't know why it works for him so much better than any other guest star, because it's just like you could make fun. I think it's maybe because like you could make fun of John Denver to his face and he would react that way. Like, that seems believable.
Right. Like, you mock him like belligerently to his face and he's just like, well, okay.
Oh, you. Yeah. I do look like a weirdo without my glasses on.
Everyone has opinions. You're right.
Yeah, it's like Ned Flanders. Like,
yeah. But he's going to have that moment where he snaps just like Ned Flanders.
Yeah, and he's probably ripped under that shirt as well.
Oh, God. I don't want to think about a ripped John Denver.
He's so scrawny.
Speaking of ripped John Denver, while we were watching this, my wife pointed out that if you compare just their faces, John Denver and Brock Lesnar look alike.
Oh, my gosh. Wrestler Brock
yes.
Lesnar?
UFC, MMA, Brock Lesnar.
Oh my God. It looks like his face just superimposed on a giant man's body.
So to me, the story there is that Brock and John were brothers and they took very different paths in life.
Beautiful. His little runty little brother, John.
So if you want to see what a ripped John Denver would look like, I guess just Google images of Brock Lesnar.
Is he Brock Denver or is it John Lesnar?
Ooh, both of those are pretty good. But now
Brock Denver is funny.
now I want to see the glasses and the hair photoshopped onto Brock Lesnar, though.
You hear us out there, people? We don't got time for this anymore. We're making too many Muppet podcasts.
But getting back to John Denver, next he's going to tell us a weird story about a Christmas tree named Alfie.
I couldn't follow any of this shit either.
It's very confusing because there's nothing in this story that he's telling that is important for this character to be a tree.
No.
It's just about...
And you know what Muppets do really well? They make inanimate objects into characters. So there could have been a Muppet tree.
Yep. Yeah, you're 100% right. Because he's just telling a confusing story about a tree.
To some deer who look very confused too.
Real deer.
Yeah.
They don't even choose to use Muppet deers in this one. They use like actual deers. And it transitions into them singing It's in Every One of Us, which is a song we will hear again in Muppet Family Christmas.
I do love that song.
Oh, yeah.
That to me is one of like the primary signature Muppet songs.
Oh,
and this is the first time that it's like this album was the first time that it was sung, right?
Yeah, it was not written for this album. It's a real song that existed a few years before this album.
Okay.
By David Pomeranz. But yes, this is the first time the Muppets were associated with it.
Yeah.
After he tells the weird Christmas tree story and sings the song, we get Kermit looking sad with a very tight scarf around his neck.
It's too small. Get him a bigger scarf.
You can see the fleece wrinkling around Jim's hand underneath the scarf, which, just loosen it a little bit. And
Yeah, we've seen him wear bigger scarves. Like, he could have put his little Emmett Otter outfit on.
That'd have been so cute. But Kermit is telling a story reminiscing about his time in the swamp and how he used to celebrate Christmases and how he missed it and how they would build a snow frog.
Yeah.
And at one point, he crosses his legs really dramatically.
He does. It's like, he's done that a million times before, but for some reason this time, it feels like the camera is focusing on it like, folks, think about this. How'd he do it?
It almost looks like he's also showing off for John for some reason. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I bet you don't think I could cross my legs. I'll show you.
Kermit's drunk. But yeah, this is fine. This is just like, it's so random that it's like, why is this happening? But I guess I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and there's a sweet little moment there where Kermit says, show business takes you away from your roots, which
Yeah.
felt like a real, sincere little moment.
Yeah.
And it's immediately like the legs are cut out from under it when he's like, yeah, we had some really tasty roots back at the swamp.
That was really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, do frogs eat roots? Because I don't
know.
I don't think they do. And then they go on to perform a song called The Christmas Wish, which seems to be an original. I couldn't really track down where that song came from.
Is it on the album as well?
I think so. Yeah. So it was not written by John Denver. It was written by somebody else. And I think it was written for this album, but I could be really wrong. But continuing the plot of this special, if you want to call it that, Piggy goes into the makeup room to get ready for her number that she knows John Denver has promised her, even though she doesn't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
And Lou and Beaker, who are apparently in charge of the makeup department, are in there ready to dress her up as an elf until she lets them know the elf number has been canceled. And they say, oh, okay, then get the hell out of here. We don't need to do anything to you.
Yeah. They do say that.
Lou's like, okay, next.
Yeah, very practical on New Zealand's part.
It's like, I'm a very busy fish throwing man. I'm either putting makeup on people or I'm throwing fish.
Throwing fish.
You
I'm
can
not doing either of those right now, and you're wasting my time. Get out of here.
But this leads to a performance of Christmas is Coming, which is apparently a traditional British Christmas song.
Yeah.
That they sing in the round. And
you never heard this song before?
I've heard it. I just don't know where or why.
Yeah. Okay.
But Beaker has some maracas for some reason.
It's got a little bit of a Latin flavor to it.
A little bit.
In this version, yeah.
It was kind of perplexing, this whole number of like why it's happening, how it fits into the plot of the special.
Yeah.
And
I found it a bit annoying, honestly. I liked the end, though, when Miss Piggy's still going and Gonzo's like, we're over this.
Yeah.
Everyone's being very, like, Piggy's getting a lot of disrespect thrown her way.
She's wanting to change the entire show as it's happening, Sam, just to
That's true.
fit her and make her a star.
In her defense, the show doesn't, like, they don't know what they're doing, really.
You should let Miss
She's
Piggy
trying-
be the producer, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's followed up by the song A Baby Just Like You, which is a John Denver original song. That's the one we mentioned earlier where he's just singing about Christmas and then randomly starts to mention his son at the end. And you find out, oh, he's been singing to his son this whole time.
What a twist. And also he's back in the little city, the little village.
But it's nighttime now.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet, but at the same time, is one of the less interesting points of this special.
I feel like something like this happens in Perry Como as well. He's walking around at night singing a sad song. Maybe even to someone specific. I don't quite remember. But it's after he talks to the Santa Claus version of the guy of Art Carney.
Yeah, that might be just before he wanders into the record store and all the kids are listening to that cool new hip Elton John record.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You could have had that happen in this, where John Denver walks into a record store and everyone's listening to the new Motorhead.
to the Clash or
Yeah.
something, yeah. Like, oh, this music's for degenerates. I know how to have some real fun. Let's go learn about Baby Jesus, everybody.
Yeah, London calling, more like God's calling, and you should pick up the phone. But thankfully, we are saved from this melancholy moment by a delightful performance of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas
Oh, I love this so
with
much.
Rolf and John Denver just singing a sweet song together.
Yeah. This is another, like, this, the show could have been a little bit more like this, too. Just a little more low-key or something, like... But yeah, it's so beautiful, and you can see Rolf's big old butt sitting on the piano seat, which is so weird.
You do get to see the full, like, pyramid-shaped body of Rolf that we have famously seen in the IBM.
But now it's a little more rounded out. Like, you can see he has a butt now.
I think they've probably realized that it's a problem when you see too much of Rolf's body because
Yeah.
it's alarmingly
'Cause it's an
tent-like.
infinite slug.
Yeah, if you don't pan down far enough, you just have to imagine that Rolf has an exponential body that just keeps getting wider and wider and wider.
Yeah, we're all living on Rolf's big old ass.
It's Rolf's ass all the way down.
But yeah, this was like, I think this was the highlight of the whole thing for me.
Yeah,
'cause
especially Rolf, just something about his energy in this feels very old school Rolf to me.
Totally. Yeah.
Like even Jim's
Rolf-
performance
Rolf-
of Rolf feels different than it does on the Muppet Show.
Mm-hmm. Rolf could anchor a Christmas special, like Rolf of this period. Like he could be the focal point of a Christmas special set in Rolf's house where he's like playing the piano and just having a nice, pleasant time.
Here's my pitch. We get a Rolf Christmas special, but it has to be like a low budget Christmas special because he acknowledges sort of his place in this era of the Muppets.
Yeah.
He's like, I used to be really important. Nowadays, no one really pays attention to me. So I asked to get a Christmas special. They gave me $12 and said, have fun. So he gets like, like he has like special guest, Scooter. Who like
Lady Gaga would show up though.
Well,
could
I
get
feel like he
Gaga
would
in
have to like
this.
trick people in, like maybe he's neighbors with John Hamm, and
Yeah.
he like asked John to come over and
John
help him like
Hamm.
put together his new like couch or whatever. And John Hamm's
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm just here to help," and he's like, "Welcome, special guest, John Hamm."
Oh wow, I love that. Rolf and John Hamm is a great duo. John Hamm looks like a big tiger, so it's like a cat and a dog. They have a great chemistry. I would feel like.
And we've gotten very little John Hamm with Muppets. Surprisingly, I feel like he's
Have we
somebody-
gotten any?
we at the BAFTAs with Miss Piggy, and he's been on Sesame Street a few times.
This man needs to meet Rolf.
John Hamm and Rolf could just be a duo. But I still want to keep it the begrudging neighbor character.
Yeah.
I don't want John Hamm to be like signing up for this. I want him to just
Right.
be a great friend of Rolf's who feels like Rolf is taking advantage of their friendship just a little bit.
Rolf is John's Ernest in this situation, and he is Vern.
See, and I like the idea of getting, because I feel like that's not too much of a stretch for Rolf, even though it's different from what Rolf has been a lot of times. We don't see him really being conniving. But I feel like you could bring back a little bit of that Jimmy Dean.
Yeah, he was
energy.
definitely conniving in Jimmy Dean. He was always trying to get away with something.
Yeah, and he would straight up lie to Jimmy at times. But they have their very
Yeah.
sweet moments as well. So you could just make John Hamm the new Jimmy Dean.
Yeah, he was bad enough at lying that it was never like too bad because he could find out fast enough before he caused any real problems.
Yeah, and his lies were never too big.
Yeah. Except that he was going to space. He did blow Jimmy Dean up when he was lying about going to space.
Like almost for real.
Yeah.
Well, we've avoided it long enough, Sam. It's time to talk about the Nutcracker Tin Soldier number here.
the most 70s-ish part of the whole damn thing.
Yeah, we zoom in on a house where through the window you can see a Christmas tree on a black and white tile floor, the most Christmassy of settings. And we zoom in even further to reveal a set that's supposed to make it look like everyone's a miniature toy. And we get the tin soldiers coming out of their box. John is one of the 12 toy soldiers in this lineup, and he's doing his best, but he looks a lot like just an awkward dad who signed up for a school pageant and didn't really understand what he was getting into.
He really, he does look extremely out of place.
Which, again, at certain points they're playing into. He is the one stumbling, falling down, bumping into people. That it works well, but it does go on for a while.
Yeah, he just wasn't built for this kind of thing.
And this is the number where we get to see Miss Piggy playing Fifi, who is a toy doll who is waiting on the soldier to return.
To fight in a toy war or a real war, I don't really know. There's
You've
like
seen
real
small
bombs.
soldiers. You know what's going on, Sam. This is just a small soldier situation.
They're going out and murdering people?
Yes, Sam, obviously.
Oh, no. And John is kind of not really into it, but he's still go along.
Yeah, he's trying to, stand back and not actually do anything. He's like Finn in The Force Awakens, where he's like, I'm just going to stand over here and hold this gun. I'm not going to shoot it, though.
Finn is also always like looking around like, is this what I'm supposed to do? You're right. You're right. This is where they got the idea for Finn.
Yeah. Shigeru Miyamoto was watching this and called up his friend George Lucas and was like, hey, George, I have an idea for 40 years from now.
You know how you're going to sell Star Wars to Disney and they're going to make a sequel series? Listen to this. Holds the phone up to the TV.
George is like, who is this? You're not famous yet.
You were speaking to me in Japanese and I can't see what you're pointing me at. Somehow I know that you're pointing me at something.
Your general vibe is pointing.
Yeah, this sucks. I hated this.
Yeah, the only thing I really liked about this is there's a really good moment where Piggy is trying to climb up on a box to get in position for her song, and they let it linger for a really long time of her struggling to climb up on the box.
Yeah, that's good. And it's kind of funny when they're running slow motion at each other, and she's like, I did this in a movie once. I guess it's not that funny.
As you said it, you were like, that's not that great.
This is something that's happening.
It is a little weird that they're like, hey, remember I did this in that movie that came out 6 months ago. Yeah.
She's not, but there's not really like, it's not elevated in any way. Like she's not being goofy. It's like, there's not really like a point of view to any of it. And she's not like, it's like she fought so hard for this role and she's just kind of like phoning it in, I feel like.
And I think they treat the Fifi role as if it's this big starring thing, but really it's just, she gets a solo song, which I guess is a big deal, but
yeah. But so did Rolf.
Yeah. So she doesn't really have to do anything in this role.
Yeah. I'd love to see a Miss Piggy be like, because we haven't had a Christmas special when Miss Piggy has been big. So I'd love to see Miss Piggy be like at the end of like Muppets 4D or Muppet 3D or whatever, where she's like, I'm planning a blowout. And then she does like the most insanely Christmas thing ever. And it all blows up in her face. She's like, John, don't worry about it. I'll handle the big final number.
Yeah. No, I think the special, which is I think anytime the Muppets show up in a special, is the struggle is, do we lean more into the celebrity or more into the Muppets? And this one, at certain points, does both, where it's like, okay, John gets his sappy song, Walking Alone on the Streets, and then we're going to have this extremely Muppet showy Christmas is Coming number, and there's not a great balance found. I think that can be done. But I think in this one in particular, there is just something where those things feel more disjointed than complementary.
They never thought of a through line for the whole thing. Mm-mm. So it's just like, okay, here's the next random thing that happens that you're not going to have any emotional attachment to. But I think John fits in so well with the Muppets, like, it didn't have to be that way.
Even this last section we're about to get to is disjointed on its own, because we get to this living room set where they are going to be performing the Peace Carol. And when I say they, I mean John Denver and Scooter.
It's so weird. Scooter's got a beautiful voice, though.
Yeah, and he's got a beautiful sweater on as well. Again, Scooter understanding the fashion assignment here and dressing up for the occasion.
Uh-huh.
And all the Muppets are there, gathered around, listening to John Denver and Scooter sing.
Scooter.
They join in a couple times in the choruses.
Yeah.
Notably, there's one weird part where there's a woman's voice singing along, and it sounds like maybe it's Piggy or something. But Piggy is just sitting there silently looking at everyone. And so I don't really know where that voice is supposed to be coming from, because every other voice in the song is either when all the Muppets are singing along, or it's Scooter, or it's John. And so there's just this weird, mysterious, ethereal woman's voice.
Ghost of Christmas Past? Is that the creepy girl ghost?
That is the creepy girl ghost in the movie.
That's who it is. What do you think about Muppet Jesus?
I think Muppet Jesus was extremely well done.
Yeah.
We have a little nativity play in the middle of this special. And apparently 22 new Muppets were created for this nativity scene. Jim Henson told the press that they were carved from urethane foam like most of the Muppets. And we had to be careful not to offend anyone by giving the figures comic characteristics. So they apparently did, much like the Harry Belafonte episode, they did a lot of research to try and figure out like the best way to represent these characters. I will say at the end of the day, Baby Jesus
little blonde
is
Baby Jesus.
Yes, very fair-skinned and blonde-haired. But most notably, in Jim's quote, he says, "These are the first serious puppets we've made."
I took umbrage with that. That doesn't seem like it could possibly be true.
Name one other serious Muppet.
Oh, you just said somebody. Oh, the mask, the African mask Muppets. I feel like that counts.
I'd say that counts.
But maybe nothing on the Muppet Show counts in his head. Gosh, I feel like they have done something more serious at this point, but I'd have to go back and listen to every episode of our show to remember.
Which we definitely don't have time for.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. Maybe that's like what kicks him off on his... Well, he's trying to do Dark Crystal, which
right.
is serious.
Yeah, he's working on some more, I guess, believable, for lack of a better word, characters that are like truly creepy and upsetting, because, you have the Saturday Night Live Muppets, which are not realistic, but they are different and maybe more serious, you could call them. But
they're goofy.
They are goofy.
They're goofy little fuckers, though.
But you definitely have the Dark Crystal ones start to get more serious and creepy.
They're dark. They're killing each other.
Spoilers.
Do they kill each other? I haven't seen that in a long time. Somebody kills somebody.
There's definitely some deaths
Probably.
in the Dark Crystal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the closest thing to these puppets that we have seen so far is the Country Trio.
Yeah, you're right.
Like the most human-like
style.
Muppets.
Mm-hmm.
But these are even a step further towards realistic human.
Right.
And these characters actually reminded me of the puppets from Being John Malkovich a little bit.
Oh, maybe that is why I saw them and thought, I've seen these before.
But it's worth noting that one of the guest puppeteers who helped out on this is Philip Huber, and he was a puppeteer and puppet designer who worked on this, and he is the guy who would go on to design and perform the marionettes in Being John Malkovich.
Huh.
So he might have had a hand in creating both of these.
Then there's just a crowd of children that has apparently been watching them the entire time.
Surprisingly, the special ends as they sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and they pull out to reveal that about 100 children have just been sitting there watching them.
Silently.
Yeah. They took Silent Night as an order, and they were like, all right.
Well, when you sing it in German like that,
it is a bit more threatening.
Be quiet. Yeah. I thought that was so weird. That was so like, why are you saving this until now? There's not a more natural way you could have introduced this 100 children.
It doesn't line up with anything else that's happening in this special, which is just so odd that I don't know why it's there. I don't know why they felt the need to reveal. Like
they could have just had an off-screen children's choir.
Yeah, or like bring a bunch of children into the living room set or something.
Yeah.
But instead they just pull out the camera and reveal this is all a facade. There is no living room. But that about does it for that special. I think it was worth watching. It's fun, but I think it's very much, there are things you can skip.
I had never even heard of it before, which is so surprising to me. Like I've said before, because I love this album. It's less surprising to me now that I've seen it that I've never heard of it before, because it's just not like it doesn't match up with the album very well. And I hadn't seen Imitator or Santa Claus Switch, and those both like blew my ass off. Those are like my favorite. Those are great, and this one's just not great. So, disappointing.
Yeah, the most I had seen of this previously was around Christmas time. My mother-in-law was here and we were talking about her love of John Denver. And I was like, I know one thing about him. He was on a Muppets thing. And so I put this on in the background while we were hanging out for Christmas and didn't even we didn't watch it. It was just on for 5 or 10 minutes in the background of things. And so I had seen some of it in the background before, but not really paid attention to it. But that was the most exposure I had to this special. And I also did not know it existed until we started doing this podcast and I looked it up.
That's probably the best way to watch it is to put it on and decorate the tree or something. Because you just look over and you're oh, now they're in a forest. Oh, now they're in a living room. And it's you don't have to think about it too hard. Yeah,
you can zone out, do some Christmassy things, have a conversation, and then when something good starts happening, you're like, oh, hey, everyone, look. It's Kermit and John Denver. Or it's
look
Ralph.
At TV. Matt, stop telling us to look at TV. We're trying to decorate the tree.
It's the spirit of Christmas. Look at the TV.
Look at TV, everyone.
It's all I do every week is look at TV, so I need someone else to look at TV.
Are they really there? Am I imagining them? Are the Muppets real? Please tell me.
Matt, the TV's not even on. So now it's time for our Muppet of the Week. This week's Muppet of the Week is Nigel. The original host of The Muppet Show. Now the conductor of the Muppet Show Orchestra, the composer of the Muppet Show theme song, and the only Muppet so far who can convincingly whistle.
Yes. Who else tried? Fozzie or somebody?
Miss Piggy whistled recently, and her mouth just folded in on itself weirdly.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I mentioned there, Nigel was the original host of The Muppet Show in the 1975 Muppet Show Sex and Violence pilot.
Basically sounded exactly like Kermit.
Yeah, he was performed by Jim Henson in a voice not too dissimilar from Kermit. But as he was described by Christopher Finch in the book Jim Henson The Works, Nigel was, quote, totally lacking in spunk and charisma.
Yeah, he's beige.
Yeah,
he's just a beige guy.
He's just the beigest Muppet. So he was replaced as the host by Kermit the Frog, who had one line in that Sex and Violence special. So
yeah,
they were really trying.
Baffling decision.
As I mentioned, Nigel was performed by Jim Henson in the Sex and Violence special, and in his first sketch on the Muppet Show, which was called Sax and Violence, he was also performed by Jim.
That was a good one, if I remember correctly. It's him and Zoot kind of having a goof around, right?
Yeah, it's some of that early first season Muppet Show chaos. Then, for the rest of the Muppet Show, Nigel would largely be relegated to a non-speaking role. But when he would talk, John Lovelady was performing him. Huh. And that was mostly, again, in the first season, where Nigel would talk, mostly when the band revolted against his Muppet Show theme song that they all hated and thought was boring. Right. And he was like, I thought it was a hip song.
Also a great episode. Nigel has some great moments when he pops up.
And that's the thing, is I always like seeing Nigel. He just doesn't show up very often.
He shows up surprisingly often for who he is.
Yeah.
He's in literally every episode of The Muppet Show, even though it is old footage.
That is true. He does show up in the orchestra pit every time. Much like, a lot of Muppets that show up in that opening theme song, Under the Arches, where you're like, if you missed one episode in season 1, you're like, who the hell is that tattooed pig?
With the hooves. I don't like that she has hooves still. It still bothers me.
Well, one day we can talk more about that when we have Lydia the tattooed pig as our Muppet of the Week.
Truly desperate.
Yeah, we will have hit the bottom of the barrel when she's our Muppet of the Week. But yeah, Nigel does pop up in the Muppet movie. He is in the screening room getting to watch the Muppet movie along with everybody else. And apparently in that scene, at least at the end of the movie, he is performed by Dave Goelz.
Does he talk?
He has a laugh. He apparently is heard laughing over the end credits, according to Muppet Wiki. But after the Muppet Show, he would only make a few background appearances in things like The Muppets: A Celebration of 30 Years, A Muppet Family Christmas, but wouldn't do anything in the 90s or early 2000s. He's one of the Muppets I was alluding to earlier, who just disappears for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he would not show up again until the 2011 Muppets movie, where they bring him back, obviously, to run the orchestra.
Who else is going to do it?
I mean, they had another Nigel at this point. There's 2 Nigels in the Muppet world. They make another one for Muppets Tonight.
Right.
Which really shows you what they think of Nigel. Because,
Doesn't that Nigel look just like Droop also?
Yes. So that also shows what they think of Droop. So, no one will care if we replace Droop and Nigel with this new mashup.
Droop Nigel.
They're not going to make another character named Fozzie and just be like, this is fine. But they have no problem having 5 Loos and 2 Nigels.
Ugh, yeah.
Thankfully, since 2011, maybe they built a new puppet and they were like, we need to get some good use out of this because Nigel has been around quite a bit, mostly in background roles. But he does appear in Muppets Most Wanted, the live shows of Muppets Take the Bull and the Muppets Take the O2, where he leads a parade of lesser-known characters. And
like purposefully lesser known.
yes,
like,
they have a purposeful, like a parade of like unknown
Losers.
Muppet characters. Yeah. And he even popped up in Muppets Haunted Mansion, where both Nigels were featured.
Oh, the Muppets Tonight Nigel's in that, huh?
Yeah, they both are just like in the big Life Hereafter number that they perform in the ballroom.
Okay.
But honestly, Sam, that's about it. There was not much more about Nigel out there in the world, so unfortunately, that's all I got about Nigel. Do you like Nigel? Do you kind of wish he had stuck around? Your face says no.
I do. I like him. I like all of these characters on the Muppet Show who have a job. You know, like God, what's her name? Hilda? Was that what
Yeah.
her name was? The seamstress.
Yeah.
Like, I love the episode where the band revolts. I feel like that was the first episode. It probably wasn't, but I feel like that was the first one where I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I like when they're doing this little plot, something that they haven't really done too much before. So I appreciate the behind the scenes, like, people who make the Muppet Show run so much for some reason that I love Nigel. So I hated him, and like, it's so weird that they tried to make him the host of the show. Like, that puts him on such a weird foot. Like, I feel bad for him, I suppose. They turfed out so bad that, well, but when you're up against Kermit the Frog, come on, you're gonna turf out. I like Nigel. I like looking at him. I think he's cool. I think he's funny looking. I think he has a nice design. I think that Nigel adds so much texture to the world of the Muppets that I'll give him a 6.
I agree with pretty much everything you just said. That I think he, obviously, not as good of a host as Kermit.
Yeah.
But I do think he's a better host than Wally from the Valentine Show.
Oh, Wally sucked.
Wally sucked. Pretty much sounded exactly like Nigel because he was also a Jim Henson character.
Yeah. He
But
had stupid sunglasses on, right?
Yeah,
Wally sucked.
he seemed like he did not want to be there. And
No.
Similarly to this special, though, they were writing it as they were producing it.
Oh, okay.
So that, like you mentioned earlier, that will be a trend throughout Muppets Things, is the shooting from the hip mentality.
All of their storylines are always like, we are not prepared at all for this. Why can't they be prepared? Kermit's such a bad producer.
But that's what I love about them, is that they're so unprepared versus, they show up in so many things nowadays where they're just treated like heroes and like golden gods that I'm like, oh, no, they need to be losers. They're not good at what they do.
Yeah, that's true.
Treat them like John Hamm would treat Rolf as a bad neighbor. I really want that show to exist now. And
there's so many shows we thought of that should exist.
Yeah, but I really want a Christmas special that's like, the title treatment says like Rolf and John Hamm's Christmas special, but John Hamm's name is like written in crayon.
Yeah.
Where Rolf was like, oh no, I need a big fancy guest. But yeah, getting back to
they
Nigel.
should make a Christmas special every year. The Muppets should just have a Christmas special every year.
Perry
That
Como
seems
got
easy
to.
to me.
The Muppets should just team up with Kraft and have the new Kraft Muppets special every year.
Even if at the end of every episode they eat a big bowl of macaroni and cheese, that's fine.
Hell, Gonzo could just be like tap dancing in a giant bowl of mac and cheese.
Ooh, I like that.
And Animal could just be eating his way through a giant block of cheese through the entire special. Hit us up, Kraft. We got ideas.
We got ideas coming out of our ass.
But getting back to Nigel, I'm going to give him a 7, slightly higher than the 6 you gave him.
I almost gave him a 7,
Yeah.
but he's not quite there. He's better than average.
I think he's earned it just through sticking around this long.
That's true.
He's one of the older
He's a
Muppets.
real survivor.
And he's outlasted a lot of other ones.
You got to keep your head down, and that's how you do it. Hilda talked too much. That was her problem.
Nigel's just like, hey, you need me to whistle? No? Okay, I'll be over here.
I'll just be here conducting.
Yeah. But if you ever need me to whistle, call me up.
But then they got a new guy who whistles.
Yeah, no, he's out now. Yeah, Nigel's completely out after Walter was invented. So aside from celebrating Christmas in May this week, Sam, did you have any time to enjoy non-Muppets things?
No, I didn't really watch too much stuff that I haven't talked about a million times before. But I started playing No Man's Sky again for some reason. And me and you talked about this years ago because it was bad when it came out.
Yeah, I was.
And it's still not the best, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was one of the people who bought it day of launch and really
me
enjoyed it, but also realized that this did not deliver on many of the promises they made. And through the years, you keep updating me of like, hey, they added some really cool shit to No Man's Sky. You should get back into it. And I keep saying, yeah, that sounds cool. And I never do anything about it.
It's too late for us, man. It's the kind of game that just you have to play for like 2 hours every day, you know, like to get anything done.
It feels like it's almost a Minecraft or something at this point where there's such a huge like group of people playing it, even though I don't know any of them. And there are a lot of cool things. When I see the videos of like updates coming out, I'm like, that seems like a really good game. And I wish that was what I had played back in 2017 or whatever it was when the game came out. Yeah.
It's pretty fun. It's slow. It's so slow that it's like impossible for a busy man like me to play. But it's beautiful. It's fun and beautiful and like very meditative. It's because I've been playing Elden Ring, but Elden Ring is so stressful, and I had like a stressful week at work, so I was like, I can't lose a boss fight 80 times. I have to just drift around in space. So I like listen to podcasts and play that, and that's nice. And that's kind of what I did this week every now and then.
Nice. I watched two very different things this week. I started watching a documentary that's new on Netflix called Bobby Kennedy for President, which is like a mini series about the rise of Bobby Kennedy's popularity, and more so like examining it and unraveling it a little bit of being like, early on, he was not really this guy fighting for civil rights that everyone sort of labels him as. He was really slow on this whole progressive movement. And
I did not know that.
Yeah, and the documentary features our old friend Harry Belafonte throughout it. In like recent interviews of him talking about being friends with the Kennedys and how specifically he has memories of Bobby Kennedy not being into civil rights things in the early 60s.
Like actively not being into it?
Well, so basically like when JFK would do something like good and like, you know, helping get like Martin Luther King Jr. out of jail or something like that.
Yeah.
Bobby would be like, yeah, man, that's going to lose us votes in the South. Why'd you do that?
Oh.
So that kind of thing.
He was he was a realist to a fault.
Yeah.
Or something. Okay.
Very concerned about the votes and what that versus like what was right. But it seems like, you know, I don't know that much about Bobby Kennedy, which is why I'm watching the documentary. It seems like he got better through the 60s and came around on a lot of things. So it was nice, though, to see them, you know, talk about the realistic side of this person who I think we hear very little about. But then yesterday, as we're recording this, I spent like 5 hours building my new couch that game. And while I was doing that, I just have been rewatching Star Wars Rebels the entire time.
Oh.
So I got through like almost the entire first season of Star Wars Rebels while building this couch.
Is that like the second cartoon? There was Clone Wars and then Rebels?
Yeah. This one takes place slightly later than the Clone Wars, like between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope.
That one looks cool. That one is like they took a lot of like concept art, I think, maybe, and made them into characters, and like things look more like the Ralph McQuarrie art or something like that.
Yeah, some of the characters are directly inspired. Like they made a new species called the Losat, which is based on Ralph McQuarrie's original drawings of what a Wookiee looked like.
Right, who's like a kind of lizardy looking fella.
Yeah, he's got like pointy ears. He's purple and got like weird bug eyes. And so they took his initial drawing of what a Wookiee would look like and just turned it into a whole new alien species that has like a really sad backstory. And Rebels is amazing. Rebels is like that one thing that I feel like I maybe even mentioned it on this podcast before, because it is that thing where if you are a Star Wars fan, you like Star Wars things, and you have not seen Rebels, it is the one thing you should go watch, because it is just really, really good Star Wars, and it has very few ties to like main characters. Like it's like its own side story with a lot of these own characters. It's not like filling in a lot of gaps in backstory. And it's really well done, really emotional, and it's worth a watch. But before we go, we need to let you know what we're going to be watching next time. And we're going to be diving into the 80s with 3 more episodes of Season 4 of The Muppet Show.
I'm excited, though.
But you should be excited, because these 3 episodes feature guests Diane Cannon, Christopher Reeve, and Linda Carter. But we'll also be watching a brief appearance of the Muppets on the 1980 CBS special Because We Care.
And we do, don't we, folks?
We all do. You know who we care about? Our friend Tuna, who made the music for this podcast, and Cassie Wilson, who sang our theme song. There's a different energy to the end of the show, and I don't entirely like it.
I love it, Matt. Keep going.
I don't know that I can keep it going. I think I lost it already.
I'm not really sure where you go from
No, because I just now have to tell people that they can go to commitment.com to pick up a Commitment logo enamel pin or check out our Patreon page where we just did our first video game live stream where we played Pigs in Space and Gonzo and Word Rider and Miss Piggy's Wedding, a bunch of old Atari, Commodore 64 games. We had a lot of fun. You can still go watch the live stream even if you weren't there for it when it was live.
It was a wild time. And you know what? We're going to do it again. You know what? We decided we're going to do it again this month.
Whoa, crazy. But you can also, if you want to reach out to us about anything Muppet related, you can email us at mail@commitment.com. And you can follow us on the internet at commitmentpod, where we usually post what we're going to be watching next week, some fun little clips, and just retweet cool Muppet artists. And you can follow me on the internet at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.